This is Share the Vision, presented by the Resource Center, a discussion of the programs and services of the Resource Center and about issues related to individuals with disabilities. Today, coverage of the 29th Annual Service Awards Recognition Luncheon at the Resource Center at their administrative offices outside Celeron back on January 21st. Hosting this event was Nikki Risker, Director of Human Resources at the Resource Center.
Good afternoon. My name's Nikki Risker, and thank you for joining us for the annual Service Awards celebration. And before we get started to what I'm sure is the most important thing for everybody, the food, I will ask Pastor Hoyer to come up and give us the invocation.
Timothy Hoyer is a TRC Board Advisory Committee member. We don't have time to broadcast all of his remarks, but there was one thing he said just before he began the invocation that I wanted you to hear.
Now, we're here to give thanks to people for their work here, but I think we need to realize there are different meanings to the word thank you. We can often use the word thank you to say to our aunt who gives us a present for our birthday, "Oh, thank you. You did something nice for me. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you." Just pass the salt. Oh, thank you for doing it. I was watching a baseball game once, and there was a hard ground ball to the third baseman who picks it up, and he throws the ball to first. But it's a bad throw. But the first baseman makes this extraordinary play, and he gets the runner out. And then the third baseman, he doesn't run over and go, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." He stands over there, and he looks at his teammate, and he simply points to him and nods his head. "You did something great." And he acknowledges what his teammate did. And that, I think, is what we're doing here today, nodding and telling each other, "You did something great."
Pastor Timothy Hoyer, speaking at the 29th Annual Service Awards Recognition Luncheon for the Resource Center not long ago. Now, it's impossible to name all of the award recipients during the course of this short radio program. You'll soon understand why. 63 people were recognized for working 5 years at the Resource Center. 54 people celebrated their 10-year work anniversary at the Resource Center. Another 21 people were recognized for working at the Resource Center for 15 years. 20 people received recognition for working at the Resource Center for 20 years. There were 5 people who received 25-year awards, and 7 people who were recognized for working at the Resource Center for 30 years. That brings us to 3 people who were noted for 35-year careers at the Resource Center. And because I was in the process of making a switch in my recording gear as this part of the ceremony began, we did not get Nikki Risker's description of Carl Erb's work. Carl's an Activity Leader 1 at the Resource Center. But I did catch up with Carl a little later in the afternoon to talk to him about the work that he has done for 35 years at TRC.
The way Nikki described your work, it sounded very interesting and a little unusual. So tell me about what it is you do again.
We go out in the community with the folks that we work with and try to get acclimated to living in the community. We might go bowling or go visit the library. We might go geocaching. That's something the guys like to do. Get out and meet people.
Sometimes, depending on the level of disability, that could be rather challenging.
Oh yeah, we talk. We make our plans every day. Where we talk over, find out what the guys would like to do, and then try to get out and do it.
At Greystone, you're associated with?
Yeah, the Greystone Nature Preserve. We've been going up there now for about 4 or 5 years. The guys like to get out there and walk in the woods or feed the chickens, go get involved cleaning the beaches over at Lake Erie. Any number of things that we do up there. Plant trees. We planted trees. Have a campfire. Roast marshmallows. We also volunteer, do Meals on Wheels on a weekly basis. We've been doing that now for 5 or 6 years. We also go to Center Stride. The guys like to go out there horseback riding, and we also volunteer there helping to clean the stables. Just get out and try to get involved with the community and learn how to get along.
Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Congratulations to you.
Celebrating 35 years as an employee of the Resource Center, Carl Erb, Activity Leader number 1. I got my recording equipment back in gear in time for Nikki Risker to talk about Mark Morton, another of the 35-year award recipients, Director of Service Development and Special Projects.
According to two people who've worked with Mark for many years, Mark always had the ability to work with all of us women successfully, and we are not quite sure how he did it. He would just listen to us, pull his mustache, and then we would feel better. He knew enough not to argue, and of course he had the sign, "Which broom parking 1 hour," outside his office. What a great guy he was to work for, a true advocate for the staff and individuals we support. And Mark was and continues to be a great mentor. He's a strong advocate for all employees, truly respecting the work and part everyone has in carrying out the mission. He made work fun, and it was always easy to work hard for him because you knew he was working hard and that he appreciated what you were doing. Congratulations, Mark.
The third person celebrating 35 years at the Resource Center, Carol Peterson, the Central Intake Coordinator for TRC.
I knew that the best description of Carol Peterson would come from her friend Donna Lundmark, and this is what she had to say about Carol. I've known Carol since my first employment stint at TRC in 1981, and she is without question one of the most dedicated and most knowledgeable people in the field that I can think of. During the years that we worked in continuing day treatment together, the staff had a special bond that took us through a lot of special moments, some funny and some tragically sad. Carol has always remained professional in all situations. We've shared a lot of lunch hours over the years. One that stands out in my memory is when a carload of staff were driving across town to lunch with Carol at the wheel. One of the passengers in the car tossed litter out of the car window, and Carol screeched on the brakes and wouldn't budge until they retrieved it. I doubt that person ever littered since. Also, Carol was one of the 4 so-called cacklers who headed for lunch at the Holiday Inn every Thursday for over 7 years. Thanks for the memories and congratulations on 35 years, Carol.
And now on to two people celebrating 40 years each at the Resource Center.
Gary Melquist, unfortunately, is not able to join us today, but for 40 years he's been a quiet yet consistent and reliable presence in the agency's purchasing department. According to his suite mate, Cindy Tadaro, for the 9 years that they've known each other, she finds him to be one of the most easygoing people she's ever met. She describes him as a dedicated employee father and grandfather who has outlasted supervisors, managers, most employees, and even carbon copy paper. Gary is very punctual on arriving at his desk and leaving for home, so don't get in his way. Cindy and Gary have shared many laughs, mentor each other, and work well together as a team. Cindy wants everyone to know that it's been a pleasure working with him, and she hopes everyone realizes and appreciates all he's done in those 40 years of working for the agency. Congratulations, Gary. And finally, Elizabeth Rothwell. For 40 years, Liz has been employed at the Work Center in Dunkirk. As a parent of a child with disabilities, Liz has been a compassionate and caring presence in the Work Center program throughout the years. During her tenure, Liz was recognized as Employee of the Month. In the letter informing her of this honor, she was advised that she was being recognized for her outstanding contributions to the clients of the Dunkirk workshop. She consistently demonstrated a strong commitment to the goals of the workshop and the clients with whom she's worked. Her efforts in supervising the work activities area were appreciated by both staff and clients, and she was commended for the enormous patience and persistence in meeting the special needs of the severely handicapped person in the work activities program. I personally had the good fortune of working with Liz for 3 years in the Dunkirk Work Center, and I always found her to be a kind, caring, and friendly person, and I have no doubt that is how both the many co-workers and Work Center participants that she's come in contact with over the years have seen her as well. Liz can also be counted upon to be an annual attendee and participant in the Laurel Run festivities in Silver Creek. And not that we want to make either of the 40-year awardees feel old or anything, but an interesting little factoid about today's festivities. There are 53 people who received awards today who are less than 40 years old and therefore have not even been alive for as many years as you've been working here. So, congratulations, Liz. And now I'd like to introduce Tony Prinzi to present our Trainer of the Year, the Norma J. Smith Award, and the Joseph Trousseau Employee of the Year Awards. Thank you.
Tony Prinzi is the Assistant Executive Director for Labor Management at the Resource Center.
Thank you, Nikki. And thank you to the HR staff that put this program together, especially the leaders, Nikki Ritzker and Roxanne Huddleston. Just a couple comments before we do the presentation. One is that the TRC Foundation is a sponsor of these three awards financially to those individuals that obtain the awards. The first award is the Trainer of the Year Award. This award recognizes an individual who has provided either agency training or departmental training on one or more than one occasion and who has shared information that has made a significant difference in the way staff approach their jobs and inspire people to do their jobs differently or better. For this award, I'd like to have Todd Jacobson, Paul Susanna, Denise Jones, Virginia Vath, and Michelle Alpall to come forward. This award has been in effect for the last 8 years, and it's the fourth time part of the Employee Service Awards. The 2013 Trainer of the Year is a long-term employee in this agency and who serves as TRC's Quality Assurance and Quality Improvement Clinical Educator and has worked for the agency most recently for the past 11 years. This individual was nominated by 3 individuals separately who have experienced training, and it is obvious from their remarks that she has an unmatched concern for the well-being of the consumers and the staff. The individual is always available to speak with the staff with any healthcare issues and questions and follow up with the people in the programs. She always makes time for the staff when they have health questions about themselves. This individual is part of the QA/QI department and as well as the staff training department. The 2013 Trainer of the Year goes to Peggy Ellefson.
I spoke briefly with Peggy Ellefson a little later in the afternoon.
Peggy Ellefson, congratulations on the award you received here today. Tell me about how your Resource Center career began and has grown.
Well, actually, I was 30 years younger when I came to the Resource Center. It was right at the beginning of the massive deinstitutionalization of a lot of the folks that we support. And I don't know, there's just something about the fact that when somebody looks at you and says, "You're coming back tomorrow, aren't you?" You do that. And so it's kind of been something that, I've always had, my heart has always been here. And I think that's part of it, is no matter if you're going to have any kind of tenure at the agency, you got to put your heart into it.
It's the consumers then that drive you. Absolutely. That's every day when you get up out of bed and put your feet on the floor, you got to think who you're doing it for. And you're doing it for people that need you, that need your voice, that need your abilities, that need your understanding and your patience and all of those kinds of things. Thank you very much.
Now back to Tony Prinzi.
The next award is the Norma J. Smith Award. Norma J. Smith worked at this agency from 1983 to 1991. This award recognizes excellence in direct care in residential or a day program setting. Nominees have to have 2 years' experience and display dedication on enhancing the quality of life for persons receiving services from TRC. Again, I'd like to have Todd Jacobson, Paul Susanna, Denise Jones, Phil Thomas, the supervisor of this person, and the daughters of Norma J. Smith to come forward, Sherry Eccles and Melissa Rasmussen. The recipient of the Norma J. Smith Award for 2013 is a 15-year employee at our Hunt Road IRA. Comments that have been made by the individual who supported her is that she's a caring and helpful and loves all the people she serves. She exemplifies quality of work and relationships. She's always looking to improve herself as an employee and to teach the residents she is working with new skills and more independence. Over the last year, she has taken the task to become a certified direct care professional, and she started the process, has been attending classes from the Staff Training Center. The 2013 Norma J. Smith awardee is Katrina Gibson.
Katrina, Dennis Webster, I do a Resource Center radio show. Just talk to me for a moment about your career at the Resource Center and your feelings today.
It's a good experience and you help people out, and it's a wonderful feeling when you can help somebody out.
Direct care has been your career here?
Yes.
What is the work like day to day, month to month, year to year?
It varies. It varies. It goes, depending on your consumers and stuff. And
helping
nice.
People day to day.
Yes.
How did you decide to come to work here?
My brother-in-law used to work here, and he suggested it, so I came and gave it a try, and been here ever since.
Congratulations to you.
Thanks.
That was Katrina Gibson, winner of the Norma J. Smith Employee of the Year Award at this recent ceremony at the Resource Center. And now, once again, Tony Prinzi.
The Employee of the Year Award, 8 years ago, Joseph Trusso, this award was named after, who we honor an individual whose employment with TRC has directly enhanced the independence and integration of individuals with disabilities, and who consistently goes above and beyond the call of duty to further the mission of the agency. Mr. Trusso served on the board of directors for more than 35 years, and even after his retirement from the board, continues to serve in an advisory capacity with the agency. He has always been at the forefront relating to the mission of the organization. For this award, we have our individuals, Mr. Jacobson, Mr. Susanna, Denise Jones. I'd like to have Debbie Brown join us up front. Mr. Trusso is unable to be with us today. This year, recipient is a 10-year employee who serves as a Special Projects Coordinator for Day Services. He holds a bachelor's degree from Fredonia State University. His talent includes being an artist. Boy, you've done a lot of that here. Someone had an idea to put Labyrinth in the field across the street, across the road from the Michael J. Raymond Center, and this individual talked to city officials and explained our idea and received the appropriate approval from the Board of Public Works and the park officials. As a result, we've been able to receive grants and donations. We received a call one year from NASA, and this recipient championed the project between NASA and TRC. These are just a couple of examples of what this individual has done for this agency. The 2013 Employee of the Year goes to Johnny Tooley.
Johnny Tooley, congratulations on your award here today. Give me your feelings at the moment.
Well, I'm very humbled by it. There's so many deserving people that I feel should get it. So, again, it's humbling that I was chosen to receive the award.
Johnny, your career at the Resource Center, how did it start?
Oh, well, I started working in the program down in Dunkirk as a rehabilitation specialist. And then from there, I was given the opportunity to advance up to the special projects coordinator.
And how do you feel about this now, 10 years in?
It doesn't seem like it's been 10 years already. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the people I work with and the people that I support. It's a very fulfilling job.
The Joseph Trousseau Jr. Employee of the Year at the Resource Center, Johnny Tooley.
Thank you all for attending. One more round of applause for everybody.
Nikki Risker, Director of Human Resources at the Resource Center. At the end of the 29th Annual Service Awards Recognition Luncheon, I caught up with Nikki for a few comments. As you finish the ceremony today, your reflections on the commitment of the workforce at the Resource Center.
I think that this is a wonderful celebration because when you have in excess of 125 people who have combined almost 2,100 years of service with the agency, it really shows a long-standing and heartfelt commitment to serving individuals with disabilities in our community.
And it speaks to the commitment of individuals in a wide variety of work areas. It doesn't seem to make any difference whether it's transportation or administration or direct care. People come here to work and they really love what they do and stay.
Absolutely, and I think that that's one of the great things about our organization. We have people who are perfectly happy doing the same thing for 40 years, but there's lots of opportunity for growth and upward mobility, as you heard the stories about some of the people who've had lots of different experiences within the agency.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis.
Nikki Risker, Director of Human Resources at the Resource Center, and the person who hosted the 29th Annual Service Awards Recognition Luncheon. And now a couple of special recognitions as we come toward the conclusion of today's Share the Vision. One of them, among the 25-year award recipients, Paul Chizana, Executive Director at the Resource Center. Well, Paul Chizana, just a moment for you, and this will be shorter than it ought to be, but I did not realize it had been 25 years that you have been the executive director of this place.
Yes, actually, I would not have thought about it myself unless I come to an event such as this one. So it's amazing how time flies and how wonderful the whole experience has been.
That's a long tenure to run any organization, whether it be in the area of such as the Resource Center, serving people with disabilities and others in the community, or business or industry or government. That's a long time.
It is a long time, and interesting enough, when you go back and you observe about the time, it's amazing the evolution that has happened, not just within the organization, but within the whole aspect of supporting people with severe disabilities.
We've talked a lot over the last year or so about those changes. But Paul, what about you and the sense that you have your commitment to this place? Clearly, it is stressful at times to do this, and yet you, as many others here at the Resource Center, come to work every day. What is it in you that motivates you to do this kind of work?
Well, it's what we often say and what you kind of hear through an event such as this one, where people have been here for 20, 30, 40 years, is the fact that an experience such as this becomes more than a job. It becomes a life experience, and it's a life experience that is part of the sharing with other individuals that tends to be marginalized, but there's so much to offer in ways that sometimes the Hollywood and the fame and the fortune way of looking at things doesn't really portray, and it's so meaningful and it's so rich.
So there's that certain richness for you too, as you administer this organization, feeling similar to those who work day to day with the consumers. It sounds like very much the same story.
Exactly, that's a good point. That what emanates from events such as this is the fact that if there is something that an organization such as the Resource Center is so fortunate to have, is this collective sense of commitment, of sharing life experiences, supporting each other, and in the process, everyone gets enriched.
Well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
The Resource Center's Executive Director, Paul Chizana, on 25 years of being the Executive Director at TRC. On the list of 20-year anniversaries celebrated at this event at the Resource Center not long ago, a name you'll recognize, Steve Watterson, the Community Relations Director at the Resource Center, who every other week does this program, Share the Vision, with me. Steve Watterson, congratulations on your 20 years of service here at the Resource Center.
Well, thank you, Dennis.
It didn't seem that long to me.
It didn't seem that long to me either. I was practically just a baby when I started here. Now look at me.
The sense that you have of your tenure here and the sense of the organization, how it has changed and grown perhaps over the years that you have worked here.
Oh, it's amazing to see how much we've grown. I remember when I first started here, our annual budget was somewhere in the vicinity of $18 million, $20 million a year, which was huge. But a few years ago, we were over $100 million because we were doing so much work for the federal government. A lot of changes in the last few years, though, especially with the sequestration at the federal level. The federal contracts have disappeared. As we've talked about on the show, there are a lot of major changes coming in the way services are delivered to individuals with disabilities, and that's going to impact everything that we do here at the Resource Center. Is really going to be a challenge as we move forward into my next 20 years, if I'm here for another 20 years, but certainly in the agency's next few years.
Well, how do you feel about the mission? Paul Chisana was just talking to me about the mission of the Resource Center. Reflecting on 20 years of working here, what is your sense of that at this moment?
Oh, the mission remains unchanged and is always growing. When we started off in 1958, we were solely focusing on individuals with intellectual disabilities. That has expanded over the years, that we now serve not only individuals with any type of a intellectual, physical, emotional disability, but also we work to support those people in the community who are living on the fringes, living on the margins, that are really struggling to make ends meet. There's a lot of need out there in the community, and we are constantly, although the mission is always focused most intently on individuals with developmental disabilities, we are certainly staying consistent and constantly expanding the mission to serve anybody who needs our services.
Well, and congratulations again to you. People hear you on this radio broadcast that you and I share every other week on WJTN, but this is just a small portion of your work. You are deeply involved in many other aspects of the external and internal promotion and marketing of the Resource Center, and it's become a very big job.
It is, and I'm sure somebody has talked about it earlier in your interviews, because I haven't been listening to them all. But it's so important that we're able to take the time and recognize staff for what they do on a daily basis. We have more than 40 sites throughout the county. It's hard to get everybody together to really stop and thank them personally and show our appreciation for everything that everybody does, because it's one big, giant patch of teamwork and effort that is required to make the Resource Center go, and requires the best efforts of so many people at so many different levels, and it's because of that we're very successful in what we're able to do.
Well, this makes it easy for me to say at this moment, Steve Watterson, thank you for 20 years of work here at the Resource Center and sharing the vision today.
Thanks, Dennis.